Hi, it's Laura and Michelle, and we were going to talk. I wanted to ask you some questions about your background because that's the thing that's most commonly asked when someone asks me about you, is to say, it's pretty unusual to have a training, learning and development manager who's had a long career in recruitment.
Yeah.
So just tell us how you started and how you got into a training role.
Okay, so I didn't know what recruitment really was, and I remember my interview, I had prerequisites. When I went for this interview via a friend, I said I don't want to work on commission, I'm not really a salesperson, and I don't want to be working in the middle of the city because it's a drama. And then I didn't really want to sell. Those things didn't appeal to me. And I remember walking into the building. We were on the 29th floor, slap bang in the middle of the city. And I was just in awe because everyone looked so amazing and the building was crazy.
Because I came from teaching.
Well, I came out of a school and just thought, I want to be here. And I left teaching because I was really starving, because we were paid so little, and I even dropped in salary to take that job. So that started that way. My first 6 months in recruitment wasn't great. I was pretty useless. Now that I think back on it, I was very useless. I don't know if I would have kept me, but I think I just had a really good attitude, and that probably overran my incompetence.
She'll get there.
Yeah, she'll get there. And then I did. A light switch went on, and then I became good as a recruiter. I don't think I was absolutely fabulous. I've worked with people so much better, but I was quite good. And then our CEO said that we were growing. At that stage, we were 25 to 30 consultants, and he said he wanted a training manager. And obviously my hand went so high up, he couldn't miss me, and I just said, I want this opportunity. And then another recruiter, one of my colleagues, she was keen on the role as well, so the two of us had to do a presentation off. It was awful. Anyway, so I reluctantly got the role, because I don't think he quite wanted to put me in. I think he had a bit of a preference for the other one. Anyway, and I smashed it from day one. I just loved the whole idea of it. So what I did is, which I think is quite unique. So I started as a recruitment trainer. Having the teaching background, it helped. But then I still worked a desk for a period of time, so there was an overlap there. And then what started happening is I then managed a team. So I had a team, I had an IT team in those years. So I was divisional manager of them. And then what I did in training is we had a 30-day training program. So I took the newbies through that training program and then mentored them for 3 months after that at desk, which I'm a big fan of, you know that.
Yes.
And so I had my team going, and I had to meet my team at night when I was training them and then mentoring them, and that was quite crazy. And then I pretty much went on that path, that I always had a combination of working at desk with people, so managing people, managing teams, and then training at the same time. So that always just happened that way, and still to this day, that is what I would always prefer to do. I'd never do the one or the other. And I think that recruitment has gone through a lot of changes and a lot of different ways of doing things. In our day, we were slapping ads all over newspapers with our photos on them, and just technology-wise, just everything that's faster.
Well, you're advertising into a highly sourcing,
high sourced environment, and sourcing. You know, sourcing became quite a big theme, I'd say, around 2007, 2008. There, with that, because we had access, and ways to access candidates better. So that became a big focal point. But I think in general for me, training is it has to be a passion. You have to love doing it, and I do. And
what was it like? Because you obviously worked in a agency that became a national agency, and then you went to a really big.
Yeah, well, I worked for a national market leader pretty much. We were a specialist permanent recruitment company that had a very high profile, and we had branches nationally. And then I went from there, I went to I had a gap because I went to a law firm where I then was training on the mines, and I trained people in leadership and negotiation. Very interesting learning curve. And then from there I went to a massive holding company which had 9 recruitment companies under them. And there I was not appointed as a training manager, and literally worked my way in there because they didn't mean to have a training manager. The branch managers used to train modules, but they hated it.
Yeah.
And they always said they get pulled away from their desks and their people.
They've got their focus.
Yeah, so I smartly used to phone them when I knew a training program was coming up. We used to phone them and say, hey, do you want me to do that module for you? And we trained pretty much twice a month, about 15 people at a time, because it was a big organization, right? So I trained hundreds of people during a 2-year stay at that company. And then eventually the CEO just walked up to me one day and he said, I believe you are training manager. And I was like, thanks. So that's how that happened. And then from there I went to a headhunter. And that was, again, doing executive search. And it was quite an aggressive environment also, because it was all in a big marketing space.
Okay.
And yes, and then I came back and pretty much continued doing what I did at the holding company. Did that where I ran a team and then continued training. So life's work.
And I think that, you know, from someone who's worked with you, it's the background of a recruiter. Because I know I've personally been in recruitment companies and been sent for training, and the training is done by a non-recruiter, and it's just
out of touch.
Yeah, and I even remember the trainer saying, you know, I don't really like selling, and you know, just that whole thing. But I think also it's that feeding back between, you know, because you're managing a team, because you still understand you're involved in the deals, you can see where things need upskilling. So it's that continually cycling round. It's not like the same training program as well. That evolved over the years, didn't it?
Yeah, and also it evolves, like I said, every time, because I remember how often I'd be training new consultants, and then somebody that I managed would walk in and go, I have a crisis, and we talk about the whole, and they love those experiences because they could see how we were working the whole situation, and I think they really enjoyed that. And that to me is a really important combination, because I felt really confident as a trainer, because I knew I was at the floor, you know what I'm saying, all the time, knowing what the pressures what pressures the consultants were going or have, and just how they were operating and how they were battling with changes in the market, and that allowed for the change in the trainer focus, 100%. Yeah, and I want to just say that I went through 5 recessions in my recruitment life, which is amazing. So probably the same amount of booms and then those recessions, which were
The cycle of life.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so thanks for asking, bringing it all back again.